Okay, hello everyone and Happy New Year. We're glad to be back in the live talks. I'm Deborah Kahn, founder of Being Patient. By now you've all probably heard the news that the second Alzheimer's drug to treat Alzheimer's has been approved by the FDA. The name was lecanemab, rebranded Leqembi. So we thought we would kick off this year to speak to someone diagnosed with dementia who has been in the lecanemab trial. So please join me in welcoming Gordon Van Slyke. He is joining us from Florida, where he has been a trial participant at Charter Research. Gordon, it's great to see you, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for letting me in and on the information.
Well, Gordon, let's start first and foremost about your journey into a clinical trial. First, let's dial back to when you first realized that you were having cognition problems. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's many years ago, and it was just a gradual thing. And as time went on, obviously it was creating a problem sometimes. And I was a salesman. So if you can't talk to people, you can't make any money. And I was an operations man for a paint company. It had 25 stores I had to be supervising. So I was on the road a lot. That was kind of my background.
So when you
so
were when you say, you have to talk to people, were you having a problem with communication? What were the first signs?
No, I wasn't at that point, but I've been retired for 15 years. So, that the time is the last 10 or 15 years is how it progressed. And I got into this study, and I think that's been helpful for me, and at least put a perspective on what is happening. When you're first experiencing it, it's like, how'd that happen, or why'd that happen? Just kind of, you question yourself, and if you question yourself, then you got a problem.
So how did you find a trial? I mean, we've talked to so many people, and so many people on Being Patient say they wouldn't mind participating in research, but they have no idea how to find one. So talk us through that journey. How did you find out about lecanemab?
I heard about the Charter Research here, and they were advertising, and I knew I was aware enough to know that some of my facilities weren't as good as they used to be. And I got into the study, and unfortunately it took me, because I had a problem, but it's been a very good journey. They're very good to us, I know this is a tough thing for them too.
So
people, go ahead.
No, I'm just wondering, when you found the trial, what were some of the, obviously when you say, I was experiencing some problems.
Yeah, well,
what did those problems look like? Like, how did you know it's not normal aging versus something more serious?
I guess it started because my sister, she had Alzheimer's and passed fairly rapidly. She went downhill quite a bit. And from the time of diagnostics till the time she passed was only a couple of years. My mother also had the same situation. So I was well aware of what was happening, Unlike some people who just learned about it, I lived it.
So with a mom and a sister, you obviously have a very strong familial link. Did you know if you had APOE for the Alzheimer's gene at that time?
No, I didn't know about genes or any of that stuff, I didn't, and I guess I was at some point hoping it didn't happen to me or, any of my siblings or, and potentially my kids, and luckily that hasn't happened. So far.
So you said you've been, I mean, how long has it been, when you went into the study, into the lecanemab study,
Yeah.
you didn't have a diagnosis yet, or you just were
Well,
worried?
I knew there was some problems. That's why I got involved. That's the bottom line. And I admitted to it. Some people don't want to admit to it. You just got to be smart enough to say, there's something not quite right here. I mean, I got to say, I do a, similar life to all the other guys that I play golf with and other, I just have sometimes a little slower memory,
Yeah.
So that's the best way to say it. I do well. And I think being through charter, they've, helped me with that, and I'm assuming that I've got some of the good stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you seem to be doing very well today. How long has it been? I mean, the FDA just approved lecanemab, and I want your thoughts on that later. But first, I want to ask you, how long have you been taking this drug for?
It's not that long. I'm trying to go back in my memory when they told me that I was probably getting the drug. It's one of these things, is a blind study. So,
You didn't know. You could have been the placebo.
Right. That's what I was, especially in the beginning, saying, well, we'll find out, right? I'm not going backwards. How can I say that? I guess that's the best thing I can say is, I mean, I'm progressing. I get up every morning and go do what I do, I'm very active, golf and, going out with friends and living a life, a retired life.
Mhm.
So it hasn't held me back that much, I may be a little slower on the upbeat occasionally, but it's so far it's a pretty good life.
So you feel like you're
I
not
don't feel like I'm
further.
stuck in my house, and I go out and I go out, I socialize, I do everything I did before. Part of the, the progression downward is not unusual for anyone, but even without an Alzheimer's diagnosis. But physically, I'm doing well. I play golf 3-4 times a week, and I'm having a good life in Florida.
Great. Well, that's all anyone can ask for. Really. Tell us a little bit about your experience in the trial. Like, what was it like? I mean, we know lecanemab is an infusion, right? That you have
Yes, it is. Yep.
So take us through the daily, or I guess, how often do you get the infusions first?
The infusions usually quite a ways in between, maybe a month,
A month or so. Okay, so every month you go into charter, and then what happens? Walk us through that
Actually,
process.
we go to the off-campus place. It's a basically they do infusions and they do all that kind of stuff. They got MRIs. They have all the equipment they need to check your under the skin, and I've done that quite a few times.
So how long does it all take? Like, so you go in and then you have an infusion. How long does that take?
I'm going to say it's around an hour.
And
there have been times where it's been longer. I'm in a medical facility that's not controlled by charter, so I'm a patient.
yeah.
And I have to sometimes wait in the waiting rooms. It's a process.
How do you feel when you get those infusions? Are there any side effects?
I personally have not had any. I've never gotten dizzy or, it just happens, you know,
Yeah.
and no bad reactions, I guess I'd say.
So, Gordon, tell me a little bit about what went behind your decision to participate in research. I mean, it's a big decision for a lot of people. You said earlier, you know, it really confirmed that there was a problem, that you qualified for this trial. So,
Right.
what was that decision based on, and you know, how did you make it?
Well, as I said, my mother had Alzheimer's, and my sister had Alzheimer's, and they both passed from it. And I said, "Well, don't be crazy, you know, if it can help, it can help, you know. It can't hurt me, even if you know, if it's gonna be, it's gonna be, is what I'm saying, you know, but, and why not? And some people are afraid of stuff like that. You can't be afraid of what you don't know. You know?
That's true. That's so true. So you've, I'm sure, read about the recent decision by the FDA to approve lecanemab. What's your
Yes.
reaction to that approval?
Well, I think that's a good thing for everyone, you know, I mean, I'm sure there'll be times when it doesn't work, you know, but if you don't try it, you don't know.
And you know, what does this mean for your trial? Are you still participating, or how does that work once a drug's approved and they're, you know, the clinical trial was completed?
I well, I think that the thing is that I get the drug when now it's been approved and all that, instead of before knowing it could be a placebo and you're not getting it, you know. So
Have you been told whether or not you are on the drug or the placebo yet?
I was today, yes.
Do you want to share what you were on?
Like lecanemab or something like that. It doesn't matter to me what the name of it is.
But you were on the drug. You weren't the placebo.
Right.
Okay. So you are a candidate who received the drugs during, and how long did the study go for? Was it a year or more?
Well, actually, I've been coming here at least 2, maybe 3 years.
Okay. So
what they're doing is, the way I'm looking at it from my side, they're trying to find candidates, and not everybody is eligible, or not everyone can make it work in their head, you know.
Yeah.
Some people it just doesn't work. And
Yeah.
some people
And there's very specific criteria for a lot of research. Do you know what that criteria was as you entered? Do you know why you qualified?
I don't think they ever told me that. The one they said I was very healthy and, you know, fit, and that's a good starting point, you know, if you're fit and willing also.
Yeah. So now that you've completed, and now that the drug is to the market, is part of what you will be receiving is the drug. Can you continue to have the infusions because you were part of the study?
Yes, that's what they tell me.
Okay. Do you know for how long, or?
Well, it didn't go through all the details, but I believe it's yes.
Okay. So, you didn't notice anything outside of, so you know, you would have these infusions, it's just really time, right?
Yep.
You have to go to a place, get an infusion for an hour, but you would walk out of that room and feel just like you felt when you entered?
Yes. I had no side effects.
Yeah.
No, I kept coming back, so yes, if it wasn't good, I mean, it probably wouldn't keep coming back like most people. If it was terrible, it's not a really invasive thing, you know. They just put a tube in your arm and let the juices flow. And it's just a matter of time, you know. You gotta sit there for a couple hours, and then they want another hour to make sure that nothing's gone wrong. That's the safety thing, and I think that's wise.
Yeah. So when you entered the study, you obviously, they gave you scans and you had to have plaque in your brain, because we know, how
Yes.
these monoclonal antibody drugs work to break the plaque down. And some of them are aiming to prevent plaque from forming. Do you know if that has happened? Do you know if you still have beta amyloid plaque in your brain?
I guess they haven't told me that I do or don't, but they said they're still giving me the drug. I'm getting the drug is what they're saying. So
Yeah, I think it's still an open-ended question as to how long people have to stay on these drugs.
that's right. I'm not that doctor,
Right. Yeah.
But I'm willing to do almost anything to make it better for people down the road. I got kids, I got great grandkids. I mean, so
How old are you now, Gordon, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 75.
You're 75. And when your mom and your sister got Alzheimer's, was that an early onset?
Yeah, early onset. They were both probably 50.
Yeah. So it's prevalent. What would you say to other people who are sitting there going, should I mean, well, first of all, the drug, we have to wait and to see if Medicare CMS is going to cover the drug before we know the accessibility. I think it's 20-something thousand a year, which is a big price tag for a lot of people who wouldn't be able to afford it without Medicare. But what would you say to people who are considering perhaps, going into a trial like like what you've participated in with lecanemab? What would be your advice to them?
Well, that's everyone's individual decision, I believe. And it comes down to what you believe in as a person. I think if I can help my fellow man without, breaking up my family or whatever, I'm willing to do it, and I think there's a lot of people feel that way. There's some that this isn't for them because it's a time consideration. There's, some angst here and there, but I think the end justifies the means, I think it's good.
Yeah.
So people may not want to do that, and they shouldn't be in it if they feel too much angst or anxiety,
Well,
it's individual decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And you certainly gave a lot of time to Alzheimer's research. So I can imagine with the drug approval, you feel a part of that. That's,
I feel happy that that's just for myself. Is what I hope, down the road, there isn't any more of it, but who knows?
But in all honesty, the drug couldn't have been approved unless it were for people like you who gave up so much time, and the element of risk. So thank you, Gordon. Thank you for participating in research. It's important. So we're grateful. Any of us who are impacted by Alzheimer's are very grateful.
Yeah, the people here at Charter are I'm saying all. I never had a bad experience here. I mean, some are more gregarious than others, but yes, they're all here for a reason. I don't think I've found any of them that this is just their job, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, So I'm happy to have been helpful, I hope.
Thank you so much, Gordon, and what a great plug for Charter. So thank you so much for your time, for sharing your story. It is especially at Being Patient, we regard patient perspective as, foremost, utmost importance to the dialogue on the search for a cure to Alzheimer's. So thank you for your time and joining us. And we're wishing you all the best for a healthy future. So we will check in with you at a later date, but thank you so much for joining us.
Anytime. Thank you.
Great. And for those of you who might want to listen to this again or joined us late, we post all of our interviews on beingpatient.com. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletters. We are going to give you more on upcoming talks that we're having. But for now, thanks very much for watching, and we will see you next time.